Sometimes they say don't judge a book by its cover, but when a box looks like this, you have to wonder what the product really looks like. And this is actually from Atelier Wen. And these are the two watches that come from that box. Wow, are they ever different? I really do mean that in a very good way. I want to say a special thank you to Daniel, you know who you are, for connecting me with Robin at Atelier Wen, who then sent me these watches to review. And I've had them on loan, and I do appreciate the gesture. You guys are awesome. Let's cover what are you getting when you first open up the box. You're getting this really nice grain leather carrying case with suede lining. It's more luxurious than my own bedroom. But taking a look at the watch right there, this is the How, and the How is special in its own way, along with its brother, the G, that you'll see in a second. I've had these watches for about 2 weeks now, so my thoughts have settled down on them, and I feel like I have a couple things to share with you guys. I hope you can take away something from them. Now, this is a G. It's basically the blue porcelain dial variant of the How. There are differences, and we'll get into those differences in just a moment. But speaking of the How, does that dial not remind you of 1930s and 1940s chronometers? With the sub-seconds at 6 o'clock, even the numerals that are used here for the hours, it looks like they're Art Deco inspired. And you do get a chemin de fer railroad track around the edge of the dial. I'm pretty sure I butchered the pronunciation, but that's a cool design element to see on this watch. Now the case finishing is superb. You're getting a high polished finishing around the bezel, the side of the lugs, and to the side of the case. But you're getting satinated finishing on the top of the lugs to kind of give you a break in finishing. Really nice touch. Now the movement inside is the SL3006, which is a fairly highly regarded movement in Asia. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it has 41-hour power reserve. It's kind of similar to the ETA 2824 of what we know. Performance is kind of similar too. It's very unique to see this movement in this kind of watch. Now the G that you see here, I have to give you guys just a moment to take in how blue this watch is, because it's very blue, and I kind of love it. On the G itself, you'll see that the railroad track is different from the How. You get this really beautiful patterning that's resembling quite a few patterns that are used in Chinese culture. You also do get rhodium plated hands and indices too, and the sub-seconds are different there. We'll get into that in just a moment. Now, the sub-seconds on the How actually are special characters that reference Yu and Mao, and they are actually referring to a way of telling time by 2-hour intervals using an ancient Chinese time-telling method called the 12 earthly branches. So the way that they position that is to reference the time between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's really cool to see that design element here on this watch. And on the G itself, it is different. You're getting the 8 trigrams that are framed around the sub-seconds with the 4 Chinese characters there to denote the cardinal direction of the sun relative to the sky at different time. So it's a representation of how to tell time. I feel like this is sprinkled all around the watch, this kind of Chinese influence with a Parisian flair. I quite enjoy that. Now, talking about the dials. The white dial How does play with the light quite beautifully. Those heat-treated blued hands pop off of that white porcelain dial. And yes, you heard me right, it is a porcelain dial. It is white porcelain used here, and it's quite warm. Now on the G, it is a little bit cooler because the blue is a cooler color for one, but also because of the rhodium-plated hands, that blue makes those rhodium-plated hands look like liquid metal. Now let's talk about that caseback, because oh my gosh, that caseback. Now you're getting a caseback that's carved in deep relief with this mythical bird called the Peng. And this bird is an allegory for yin and yang because it's capable of flight and entering the water. That's why you see the waves cresting down below from the bird just kind of rising up and kind of coming downwards a bit. It's a nice design element. At first I thought this was handcrafted, but it's actually CNC machined, and it's done so well. You see the logo even carved in deep relief there too. Now, The way this watch wears on the wrist is quite nice. I have a 6.25 inch wrist, and 39mm case wears wonderfully well. No complaints. Now, how special is it to see these characters on the back of a leather strap for Atelier Wen? Now, these Chinese characters actually mean to ride the wind and break the waves, which makes sense because this is a micro brand that is trying to break into the micro brand industry of watches, and they're doing innovative things. I've mentioned that Atelier Wen has pushed the envelope for what's possible under the $1,000 price point, and it really shows even on the leather strap, because you see the logo is emblazoned right there on the back where you least expect it on the buckle. It's a very nice touch, but then the finishing of the buckle is superb as well, with brush finishing on the top and then high polish finishing on the flanks of the buckle to give it definition. It's a very sharp look, and it has some weight to it too. This is a high quality strap. Now, the keepers themselves are quite robust, and they don't feel like they're cheap to me at all. In fact, the smoothness of the leather and the softness of the leather is remarkable. I believe this is calf grain leather, and it is accompanying light blue contrast stitching against the darker blue leather strap, and the same goes for the other end of the strap as well too. Just an overall very delicate touch, and is a high quality strap to accompany a high quality watch. Very impressed with that. Considering that the micro-brand world of watches is kind of the blind spot of the watch industry that might be worth investigating if you are down that path of collecting, your very well-known Seikos, your Rolexes, even your entry-level Swiss like Oris, for example. But you want something that is different. You want something that dares to be a little bit more unique. And I think that both these watches do resemble that quite nicely. Look at that carved caseback. It almost looks like it's handmade. Now, this was CNC'd, of course, but you can tell that the actual design elements that go into this, with the deep relief textures and carving, really showcase that this watch has almost a handmade feel behind it. And I don't know of any other micro-brand watch company that currently has that. So seeing this mythological bird that is both an allegory for yin and yang here, which happens to be amphibious but also capable of flight, is quite interesting to see as a nod to Chinese culture. And that nod to Chinese culture is sprinkled everywhere on this watch, down to the sub-second indicator too. This watch really reminds me of the Longines Heritage series. And the reason why I say that is because that is absolutely one of my favorite watches right now, especially the sector dial that released earlier this year. Just a phenomenal looking watch. And however, Longines has kind of moved out of that $1,000 price point, and they've priced themselves up market. They're doing amazing things, but not everybody wants to spend that kind of money. This kind of hits the mark for me. The case size, the way the lugs taper down for comfort, the execution of the watch altogether with the dial paired with the hands, and the choice of colors are all just really what I felt like what Longines used to be. Now, the thing I have to point out is that these watches, in terms of things that hold them back anyways, the crown could use a little bit more profound teeth on it to help with getting a good purchase on actually winding it up. I feel that my hands tend to slip a little bit. Now, I don't think that's an issue with the actual size of the crown, but more to maybe the way the crown was designed with the teeth being a little bit too small. I've talked to Robin, who's one of the owners of the company, and he is fully aware of this, and they're going to address this in their next design. So quite cool to kind of to hear from him. But for things that hold these watches back, I kind of struggle to really think about the things that don't do it for these watches. One part, perhaps I could argue that on the G, for example, could it use anti-reflective coating? Potentially. Would it help in the legibility? I would say no. And I would actually even argue that anti-reflective coating on these watches would actually take away from the beauty of the porcelain dial. It would actually deepen and darken the color quite a bit, so you wouldn't really get what you were wanting to see out of the porcelain dial. So I do honor and understand why Robin and Will, the owners of the company, would have went for this aesthetic. If you're looking for something different, away from the beaten path, and you want this finely executed dress watch that reminds me of vintage dress watches of the 60s, with a handcrafted feeling behind it, with really beautiful finish work and detailed work on the crown, especially that case back, even down to the way that they've packaged everything together with this box. That has some very obvious influence to China. And secondary to that is the carry case that they provide. This grain leather case with suede interior is just so remarkably plush, and it reminds me of a quality product. And that's really what it comes down to. So altogether, really remarkable package that both Robin and Will have put together here, guys. If you're interested in this watch, I'll leave a link below for you guys to check it out. Now, I'm not sponsored or affiliated with Atelier Wen in any way, other than the fact that they saw my work, they liked my work, and they wanted to kind of see what I would say about these watches. So if you like these watches, check out the link, and if you like the video, please like the video. If you want to see more watch content from me, subscribe and click on that notification bell. That's the only way you'll see or hear of new videos from me. Now, there is no lume to show you on these watches, so I will definitely not bother with that, but I know that these watches are rather different from your traditional Seiko, but I think they provide something that Seiko does not today, and especially at the price point where now Seiko is encroaching the territory of Longines with its premium limited edition offerings. It makes you wonder about what can be done under $1,000, and these really do hit the mark for me. And I hope that you guys see some value in them too. On that note, guys, I will catch you in the next one.